I want you to think about something you probably did this morning. You woke up, your mouth felt dry. You reached for a glass of water, and then, maybe an hour later, you were thirsty again, and again after lunch, and again in the middle of the afternoon, even though you'd been drinking water all day. You probably thought, I just need to drink more. Or maybe, it's the weather. It's the medication. I've always been like this. Here's what I need to tell you, clearly and directly. Constant thirst and persistent dry mouth are not just inconveniences. They are not random. And after 60, they are not normal. They are two of the most reliable early warning signals that your blood sugar has been elevated for longer than you realize. And here's what worries me most about these signals. Most people who have them are doing everything they believe is right. They're taking their medications. They're watching what they eat. They're drinking water throughout the day. And their blood sugar is still working against them. Silently, steadily, because of one thing nobody explained properly. It's not just about how much water you drink. It's about when you drink it, how you drink it, and what your body is actually doing with it. Stay with me. Because what I'm about to share has changed the blood sugar picture for hundreds of my patients. People who were doing everything right and still struggling. Here's what most people believe about thirst and blood sugar. They believe thirst is a reliable signal. When your body needs water, you feel thirsty. When you feel thirsty, you drink. Problem solved. I wish that were true. But here's what happens after 60 that most people are never told. The brain's thirst mechanism becomes significantly less accurate with age. By the time you actually feel thirsty, by the time your mouth is dry and you're reaching for a glass, your body is already meaningfully dehydrated. And here's the part that directly affects your blood sugar. Even mild dehydration, just 2% below optimal hydration, can raise your blood sugar by 10 to 15 points on its own. Not from food, not from skipping medication, from water. I've had patients come to me frustrated and confused. They were measuring every meal. They were walking every morning. Their numbers were still unpredictable. And when I looked carefully at their daily routine, the issue wasn't their diet. It was how their body was managing fluid. That's what we're going to fix today. My name is Dr. Ben Bates. I've spent over 20 years in preventive medicine, focused specifically on adults over 60. I've worked alongside endocrinologists and nephrologists. I've reviewed patient histories where blood sugar remained unstable despite excellent medication compliance and careful eating. And when I found the pattern that explained it, the timing, the temperature, the specific habit that most people over 60 are getting wrong, the improvements were measurable. Not in months, in weeks. Today I'm going to show you exactly what that pattern is, why it creates the thirst and dry mouth most people dismiss, and precisely what to do about it, step by step, time by time. But first, I want you to understand what's actually happening inside your body. Because once you see it clearly, everything else will make perfect sense. When blood sugar rises, whether from food, from stress, or from dehydration, your kidneys respond with urgency. They work to filter the excess glucose out of your blood by pulling water from surrounding tissue and flushing it through your urine. You urinate more. Your body loses fluid faster. Your blood thickens slightly. The remaining sugar becomes more concentrated. Your brain registers this concentration. It sends the thirst signal. You drink. Your blood dilutes. Your kidneys filter again. And the cycle repeats, sometimes every 30 to 40 minutes in someone whose blood sugar is running elevated. This is why constant thirst and constant urination are classic early signs of blood sugar problems. Your body is trying to dilute its own blood to protect the tissue and organs from the damage that high sugar concentration causes. The thirst is not a glitch. It's your kidneys asking for help. But here's what most people miss. Drinking water reactively, only when you feel thirsty, never fully breaks this cycle. Because by the time you're thirsty, the concentration has already peaked. The kidneys have already worked overtime. The blood sugar has already spiked. You're always one step behind. The solution is getting ahead of the cycle, not reacting to thirst, preventing it. And that requires a specific approach to timing that almost nobody explains clearly. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Norma, 74 years old, retired school principal. Disciplined, methodical woman. She came to me after 2 years of frustrating blood sugar management. She was on 2 diabetes medications. She counted carbohydrates at every meal. She walked 40 minutes every morning without exception. Her A1C had been creeping upward for 18 months, from 7.1 to 7.6 to 8.2. Her endocrinologist was considering adding a third medication. She sat across from me and said, "Dr. Bates, I feel like my body is fighting me. I do everything right, nothing works." When I asked her to walk me through her entire daily routine, everything from waking up to bedtime, something stood out immediately. She woke at 6:45 a.m., drank her coffee, took her medications around 7:30, started thinking about water somewhere around 10 a.m. when her mouth started to feel dry. From the moment she woke up until she finally felt thirsty, over 3 hours had passed without any meaningful hydration, 8 hours of sleep without fluids. Then another 3 hours of coffee, which is mildly dehydrating, before her first real glass of water. 11 hours of progressive dehydration every single day. And she was starting every day with a blood sugar that had no foundation under it. I told her, "You're not fighting your body. Your body is working correctly. You just haven't given it what it needs first thing in the morning." We made 3 specific time changes. Within 2 weeks, her morning blood sugar readings had stabilized. Within 6 weeks, they had dropped an average of 19 points. Same medications, same diet, same exercise, different timing with water. I'll walk you through exactly what we changed, in detail, in a few minutes. But first, I need to show you the 3 mistakes that are making constant thirst worse and keeping blood sugar unstable, that most people over 60 are making every single day. Mistake 1. Waiting for thirst before drinking. This is the most common mistake I see, and it's the most damaging. After 60, your thirst signal is delayed. Research confirms that the hypothalamus, the part of the brain that registers thirst, becomes significantly less responsive with age. You can be meaningfully dehydrated with no dry mouth, no obvious thirst, nothing. Then suddenly, 30 to 40 minutes later than your body actually needed it, the signal finally arrives. By that point, your blood has already thickened. Your kidneys have already been working overtime. Your blood sugar has already been affected. The thirst signal is not an early warning after 60, it's a late alarm. And responding to a late alarm never fully compensates for what happened while it was silent. Mistake 2. Drinking large amounts all at once instead of steadily. Here's what I see constantly. A patient goes most of the morning without water. Around 10 a.m. they feel dry and thirsty. They drink a full large glass, or 2, quickly. And here's the problem with that. Your body can only absorb roughly 8 ounces of water every 15 minutes. Anything beyond that moves directly through to the kidneys and bladder without actually hydrating your cells. So you drink a large amount, rush to the bathroom 30 minutes later, and your cells are still dry. It's like pouring water on dry concrete. If you pour it slowly, the concrete absorbs it. If you pour it all at once, it runs off the sides. Your cells work the same way. Small amounts. Consistent timing. Throughout the day. That's what actually hydrates at the cellular level. That's what actually affects blood sugar. Mistake 3. Drinking cold water in the morning. This one surprises people. Cold water. Especially first thing in the morning on an empty, slightly dehydrated stomach, causes your blood vessels to briefly constrict. When your blood vessels constrict, insulin has a harder time circulating and reaching the cells that need it. The effect is subtle, but in someone who is already managing blood sugar challenges, that subtle vessel constriction in the morning contributes to the morning glucose spike that so many people over 60 struggle with. Room temperature or slightly warm water keeps your blood vessels naturally relaxed. Insulin moves more freely. Blood sugar handles the morning more smoothly. This is a small change. But small changes at the right time compound meaningfully over weeks. Now let me give you the specific protocol I use with patients. I call it the 3-window method because it works with 3 specific timing windows each day. Each window has a purpose. Each window addresses a different part of the blood sugar cycle. Window 1, first thing in the morning, before anything else. This is the most important window of the entire day, and it's the one most people miss completely. The moment you wake up, before coffee, before checking your phone, before anything, drink 1 full glass of warm water. Warm, not hot. Not cold. About the temperature of a comfortable shower, roughly 10 to 12 ounces. Now, here's the specific addition that makes this significantly more effective. Add a tiny pinch of natural mineral salt. Not table salt, Himalayan pink salt, or unrefined sea salt, the kind that still contains trace minerals. Just a pinch, the amount you'd pick up on the very tip of a finger, and squeeze in the juice of half a lemon. Fresh lemon, not bottled lemon juice. Here's why this specific combination works. After 8 hours of sleep, your body hasn't just lost water. It's also lost electrolytes, the minerals that help your cells actually absorb and hold the water you drink. Plain water without minerals passes through quickly after sleep. Water with trace minerals from that pinch of salt is recognized by the body as something it can actually use. It enters the cells more efficiently. It stays in the bloodstream longer. It doesn't rush to the kidneys immediately. The lemon juice does something specific too. It creates a mild acid environment in the stomach that slows the absorption of glucose from your first meal. Your blood sugar rises more gently. The morning spike, the one that frustrates so many people, becomes smaller. And there's one more thing this morning combination does that I want to explain clearly. Your body naturally produces a stress hormone called cortisol every morning when you wake up. Cortisol tells your liver to release stored glucose into the bloodstream. This is why so many people with blood sugar challenges wake up with higher readings than they went to sleep with. Proper hydration with minerals in the first 20 minutes after waking signals your adrenal glands to moderate that cortisol response. The liver releases less stored glucose. The morning reading is more stable. This is not a theory. I've watched it happen in patient after patient, including Norma. She told me at her 6-week follow-up. My morning readings used to be my worst numbers of the day. Now they're my best. 1 glass, warm water, tiny pinch of mineral salt, fresh lemon, before coffee, before anything. That single change, done consistently, can shift the morning glucose picture for many people within 2 weeks. Window 2, 15 minutes before each main meal. This is the second most important timing window, about 15 minutes before lunch and dinner. Drink 1 small glass of water. 8 ounces, room temperature. Nothing added. Here's what this does physiologically. It prepares your digestive system for the incoming food. It stimulates enzyme production. And this is the key mechanism. It slightly dilutes the contents of the upper stomach before your meal arrives. When the stomach contents are slightly diluted, carbohydrates from your food absorb into the bloodstream more slowly, not dramatically slower, measurably slower. And for blood sugar management, measurably slower absorption is the difference between a gentle rise and a sharp spike. Clinical research has shown that drinking water before meals can reduce post-meal blood sugar elevation by up to 20%. That's not a small number. That's often the difference between a reading of 145 and a reading of 165. Do this consistently before every main meal, not immediately before, 15 minutes before. That time window allows the water to disperse properly before the food arrives. Window 3, during and after any physical activity. If you walk, garden, do housework, or any activity lasting more than 20 minutes, you need water during that activity, not after. During. When you exercise, your muscles use glucose for fuel. This is one of the most powerful natural blood sugar regulators available. But if you're dehydrated during exercise, your blood thickens. Glucose transport to the muscles becomes less efficient. The blood sugar lowering benefit of movement is reduced. Small sips every 15 minutes of activity. About 3 to 4 ounces at a time. You don't need a sports drink. You don't need anything added. Plain water, room temperature, consistent. This keeps the blood volume stable, keeps the muscles receiving glucose efficiently, and prevents the blood sugar fluctuation that often follows physical activity in people with diabetes. Let me tell you about a second patient. I'll call him Raymond, 67 years old, retired firefighter, proud, self-sufficient man. He came to me not because he was desperate, but because his daughter had insisted. His A1C was 7.8. His doctor was satisfied with stable management. Raymond was not satisfied. He wanted to understand why his afternoon readings were consistently higher than his morning readings, even on days when he ate a careful lunch. When I walked through his afternoon routine, he described drinking coffee in the morning, some water around noon, and then not thinking about fluids again until dinner. 4 to 5 hours every afternoon without any hydration. His blood during those hours was thickening. His kidneys were working harder. His blood sugar was rising, not from food, but from the concentration effect of inadequate afternoon hydration. We added one specific change: a glass of warm water 15 minutes before his lunch, and consistent small sips from a water bottle throughout the afternoon. 3 weeks later, he called me. My afternoon readings are 20 points lower, consistently. I haven't changed a single thing about what I eat. His blood sugar hadn't been fighting food. It had been fighting dehydration he didn't know he had. There's one more window I recommend, and this one works overnight. About an hour before bed, drink 1 small glass of warm water, 6 to 8 ounces, with 1 teaspoon of magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate dissolved in it. Both are available at any pharmacy. Both dissolve easily in warm water. Here's why magnesium at bedtime specifically helps blood sugar. Magnesium is essential for insulin to function properly at the cellular level. It's essentially the key that unlocks the door that lets insulin deliver glucose into your cells. Over 60% of adults over 60 are clinically deficient in magnesium. And that deficiency directly reduces insulin sensitivity. It means your insulin, whether your own or from medication, is working with a handicap every single day. Restoring magnesium levels addresses that handicap directly, and taking it at night serves a second purpose. Magnesium relaxes muscle tissue, including the smooth muscle of the bladder wall, which means you may sleep longer without being woken by nighttime urination. Better sleep means lower cortisol the following morning. Lower cortisol means a smaller morning glucose spike. 1 action, 2 measurable benefits. Now, let me address the one question I always get at this point. Dr. Bates, if I drink more water, I'll be up all night going to the bathroom. I already have that problem. I hear this every single week. And here's what I want you to understand. Nighttime urination in people with elevated blood sugar is primarily caused by the kidneys working overtime to flush excess glucose. When blood sugar stabilizes, when hydration is managed properly throughout the day, nighttime kidney activity decreases. Most of my patients who follow this approach find that nighttime urination actually decreases within 2 to 3 weeks, not because they're drinking less, because their blood sugar is more stable, and their kidneys don't need to work as hard overnight. The nighttime trips to the bathroom are a symptom of the blood sugar problem. Fix the blood sugar problem, even partially, and the nighttime trips reduce on their own. Here's what to expect and when, because I want you to have realistic, honest expectations. In the first week, you'll likely urinate more often, especially in the first 3 to 5 days. This is your body adjusting to proper hydration. It settles down. Some patients notice their morning readings beginning to stabilize by day 5 or 6. In week 2, most patients experience more consistent energy throughout the day, less of the afternoon crash that so many people over 60 describe. Post-meal readings start becoming more predictable. The wild swings begin to smooth out. By week 3 to 4, the pattern becomes established. Morning readings stabilize in a way many patients haven't seen in years. Thirst is less frequent, because the body is staying ahead of dehydration instead of constantly trying to catch up. By month 2 or 3, multiple patients have told me their doctors reduced a medication under supervision, not because water replaced medication, but because their metabolic system was finally working with the support it needed. Let me bring everything together, clearly and simply. The 3-window method. Morning window. Warm water with a tiny pinch of mineral salt and fresh lemon juice. Before anything else. Every single morning. This stabilizes the cortisol response and prevents the morning spike. Pre-meal window. 8 ounces of plain room temperature water 15 minutes before lunch and dinner. This slows glucose absorption and reduces post-meal spikes. Activity window. Small, consistent sips during any physical activity over 20 minutes. This preserves the blood sugar lowering benefit of movement. And the bedtime edition. A small glass of warm water with magnesium about an hour before sleep. This improves overnight insulin sensitivity and reduces nighttime urination. The persistent thirst you've been living with. the dry mouth that comes back no matter how much you drink, is not a permanent condition. It's your body telling you something specific. Not that you need more water in general, but that your blood sugar has been running ahead of your hydration because of timing. And timing is something you can fix, starting tomorrow morning. Before your coffee, before your phone, 1 glass, warm water, 1 tiny pinch of mineral salt, half a fresh lemon. That's where the change begins. I want to hear from you right now. Describe your typical morning in the comments. What's the first thing you drink, and when? Because I know there are people watching this who will recognize themselves in what I've described. And that recognition, that moment of, that's me, is where something finally changes. If this video gave you something useful, if it explained something you've been living with, please share it. There is someone in your life, managing blood sugar, who has never heard this explained this way. One share might be the most important thing you do for them this week. Subscribe if you haven't already, because every week I bring you the specific, honest conversations about protecting your health after 60 that rarely happen anywhere else. Take care of yourself. And start tomorrow morning, 1 glass before anything else. Your blood sugar will notice the difference before you even do. Everything in this video is general medical information based on published research and clinical experience. It is not a substitute for your personal medical care. Do not adjust or stop any diabetes medication without speaking directly with your physician. If you have kidney disease, please discuss any significant changes to fluid intake with your doctor first.